Okay, everyone. So, continuing the series of things I won't do to an image, we're going to take a look at more body manipulation. So, if we take a look at this image, there is a liquefy in Photoshop. And you may wonder, what would you use liquefy for an image? Well, there's a couple things we can do here. So, let's say you decided that she was too broad through here. You wanted to give her an hourglass shape. That's one way you could do it. You could see having these out here doesn't look quite right. So another option that could be done, and again, I'm not very good at this stuff because I don't do these types of things. If we do a restore on here, there is a pucker tool. And if we make it very big and go over her midsection, we can tap, and you'll see that it brought everything in. So if we take a look at the before, that's what she looked like, and that's what she looks like now. Again, this isn't anything that I would do to a subject. When I do things, I might make an adjustment based off of, for example, that mole that's right there. Now, that's part of her. Let's cancel out of here. But what I would do with this particular subject is she has a couple of what I would call distracting moles. So I would probably shrink them down. I would not, under any circumstance, make them go away. So I could create a new layer. Make my brush really small. Wrong brush. And touch. Now you'll notice that it got less. We'll do it down here so you can see it again. It's still partially there. Now what you can do is if I take this layer all the way down, you can see that they're back, but I can make it just a little less noticeable. Let's say about 30%. All right, so before and after, before, after. It's still her. She still has the moles. You can see that they're there, but it takes it down just a little bit so it's not distracting. Now, on a body, it's usually not as distracting as it would be on a face. But again, that is part of the person. There's nothing wrong with it. I know some people will take it out completely. And we'll look at what can be done or what is done to faces next week. And then the following week, we're going to take a look at some tools that I have in my toolbox that can be used to do certain things and can be used to do other things that, again, I won't do. But let's go take a look at another way of modifying an image. So we have this bodybuilder. And just as we can make things smaller, we can do the opposite. There is a tool called bloat. Again, making sure that you've got the brush the right size, you can make modifications to the person's musculature. Now, you could also use the other tool that you saw me use on the waist, but again, these seem to bloat and pucker on their own, seem to do a little bit better job making it look realistic, but not being something I do. Like I said, this isn't something that's normal for me because I do not do this kind of work. And you look at him and he doesn't look too far off. Now, if we look at the before, that's what he was, and the after. Before, after. More calf. A little more quad. And his muscles on his arms are larger. Again, this isn't something I do for the simple fact that this isn't the same person anymore. Just like modifying a woman's shape to match some vision that you have in your head about what she should look like or what you wish she'd look like. Same thing here, making a modification as to what you would like him to look like. We're not doing a romance novel. We're doing a pictorial representation of the person. Looking at that and then saying, well, wait a minute, that doesn't look like the person, is the absolute correct way of looking at the images. This is what he looks like. And we've taken him out of the background a little bit. We could do that a little bit more. Again, if we want to make him stand out, we're not going to modify his muscles, but we can modify his environment. So we let Photoshop do its work of selecting. We create a new exposure layer. Select everything but him. Go in. And we can back off that exposure and look at how he pops out. You can take him out of the background completely. And you can see it does a pretty good job of selecting him. So it really takes that background right out. And you can see how much easier it is to see him versus somewhere around here, which is where we started out. So that is a photo manipulation I will do, not changing his shape, but changing the way he stands out from his environment. I think I'd probably go about there. I think that does a good job of not only separating him from the background, but it still leaves the shadows in place and makes him stand out. So that's what I wouldn't do for this week. Next week, we will work on faces. And the week after, we will take a look at manipulations done with programs that you can buy. Now, the reason I do some of this work is I shoot in what's known as RAW. It's a format that gets you the most information with no manipulation or very little manipulation being done by the camera. What that means is if you were to take a photograph with something like an iPhone or any smartphone, you get a JPEG image or something similar. Some programmer somewhere decided under these circumstances, do this to the photograph. It's the same thing if you look at the filters in Instagram. That was some programmer coming up with an idea of what to do to a photograph. When you shoot in RAW format, the image that you create from that is up to the photographer. It's not up to some programmer. It's up to the person who's looking at the person. So when I do a photograph of somebody, I have what I saw. The camera, having one lens, flattens that out. My job is to make that person look like what I saw with my two eyes, to bring that person out, to add the depth and the vibrancy back in that got lost from the camera. But it's based on what I saw and not on what some software developer decided was the best way to manipulate an image. So that's why I do some manipulation. And what I'm trying to do with these, what I won't do, is give you guys an idea of things that not to expect from one of my photographs. I think it's very important when you're choosing a photographer to know what they do and don't do to the photograph. Because to me, when you look at the photograph, you should see yourself. All your friends looking at that photograph will say, wow, you look great, but they'll know it's you. It's not manipulated in some way that's going to make you unrecognizable. So again, next week we're going to look at faces and skin, and then programs the week after. I hope you can join me then. Have a great day.